This is Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and greetings, I'm Fol Namag from POA News. Today, we take you to Ethiopia's Somali region, where the stunning new Shebele resort has just been inaugurated, a landmark blending culture, nature and modern hospitality. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed today inaugurated Shebele resort in the Somali region, alongside Djibouti's President Ismail Omar Guelleh, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud and other government officials, a flagship project under the Dine for Generations initiative spanning 385 hectares. With the 3 restaurants serving up to 400 guests, a dedicated cultural venue, high-tech meeting halls, children's play area and a shaded walkway across its 15.4-kilometer expanse. Shebele is designed to foster connection and community. From 10,000 3-foot parks to the authentic Camel Park, every feature celebrates Ethiopian natural and cultural wealth. With 51 completed quays and world-class hospitality facilities, Shebele marks a milestone in Ethiopia's journey to become one of Africa's top tourist destinations. During the inauguration, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed highlighted the cultural and developmental significance of Shebele Resort. The Prime Minister emphasized that Shebele Resort is part of Ethiopia's broader Dine for Generations initiative and represents a key step forwards, positioning the country as one of Africa's top tourist destinations. The statement frames Shebele Resort as a landmark for sustainable tourism, cultural preservation and national development, reflecting Ethiopia's commitment to leveraging its natural and cultural wealth. This project embodies the Meddemer spirit, turning Ethiopia's dream into reality by transforming our abundant natural and cultural endowment into a shared heritage for the world. Ethiopia is making strategic strides to develop its tourism sector as a key driver of economic growth, cultural preservation and regional integration. Leveraging its abundant natural landscape, rich cultural heritage and historical sites, the government has launched flagship initiatives such as the Dine for Generations program and major infrastructure projects like Shebele Resort. These initiatives focus on sustainable and inclusive tourism, blending modern hospitality with Ethiopian unique tradition. Investments in resort culture parks and high-tech facilities aim to attract international visitors, create jobs, and support local communities. In similar news, Ethiopia has officially inaugurated the Aisha 2 wind power project, a major milestone in expanding clean and sustainable energy. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed joined regional leaders, officials and locals to celebrate the launch of the country's newest wind power landmark. Located in the Somali region, this flagship project is cornerstone of our energy security strategy. With an annual generation capacity of 467 gigawatts, Aisha 2 delivers the reliable and scalable power infrastructure required to a technology-driven economy. Today, we officially inaugurate the Aisha 2 wind power project, a landmark investment in Ethiopia's renewable energy agenda, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said. Prime Minister Abiy stated that the strategic geographic advantage of the Aisha Plains extend beyond its status as one of East Africa's premier wind corridors. Its proximity to neighboring borders represents a concrete step towards transforming Ethiopia into a central hub for regional energy trade, he added. Moreover, the Prime Minister elaborated that, guided by the principle of Meddemer, we are committed to converting Ethiopia's vast natural endowment into a shared resource that physically and economically binds the Horn of Africa together. The project represents a decisive step in diversifying Ethiopia's renewable energy mix, which has long been dominated by hydropower. By strengthening wind energy capacity, Aisha 2 is expected to enhance power reliability and reduce vulnerability to climate-related fluctuations, supporting national energy security. Energy sector officials said the project aligns with Ethiopia's broader development strategy, which positions stable and reliable electricity as a cornerstone for industrial growth, digital transformation, and economic competitiveness. The wind farm is expected to play a key role in meeting rising domestic demands while supporting regional power exports. The inauguration of Aisha 2 builds on Ethiopia's growing portfolio of renewable energy projects and reflects sustained investment in green infrastructure. It also underscores the government's commitment to climate-resilient development and the global transition towards a low-carbon energy system. With Aisha 2 now operational, Ethiopia signals its readiness to translate ambitious clean energy goals into tangible outcomes, reinforcing its position as a leading renewable energy hub in Africa.
Ethiopia's green legacy initiatives are restoring urban parks and expanding green spaces across our cities. Green spaces protect the environment and strengthen healthy, resilient communities.
African Union Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment, Moses Vilakati, has emphasized that strengthening the continent's water profile is essential for driving socio-economic transformation across African countries. The African Union has designated 2026 as the year of assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goal of Agenda 2063. Talking to POA, Moses Vilakati, AU Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment, emphasized that water must be a top priority for member states as it lies at the heart of Africa's socio-economic transformation. Commissioner Vilakati described water as a powerful catalyst for development, a fundamental human right, and a strategic imperative for the continent's prosperity, security and overall progress. He stressed that fully realizing Agenda 2063, Africa's long-term blueprint for inclusive and sustainable growth, depends heavily on addressing water and sanitation challenges. Explaining the choice of the 2026 theme, he noted that the AU aimed to elevate the profile of water across the continent.
You think agriculture, you think energy, you think health, it's all about water. So this is a very, very important theme. So why at AUC? It's just because we want the member states to raise the profile on water. Since Africa is still deficient in the water supply to its people. There are about, for example, 400 million people who lack basic water services, and more than 700 million people without safely managed sanitation. And that constrains human development, that constrains transformation. And yet, if we're taking water to a higher profile level, like education, like health, like agriculture, we would have resolved this at ease. So we are very excited about this, this theme.
He highlighted alarming statistics. Approximately 400 million Africans lack access to basic water services, while over 700 million do not have safely managed sanitation. This gap, he argued, serves constrained human development and the broader transformation Africa urgently needs. As a result, he urged all AU member states to actively work towards raising the priority of water issue in national agendas. On the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, CAADP, launched in 2003 under the Maputo Declaration to promote agricultural-led growth, reduce poverty, enhance food security, and improve nutrition. Commissioner Vilakati expressed optimism about its implementation over the past 2 decades. Despite ongoing challenges, he pointed to notable success, including stronger national planning systems, better investment program formulation, and enhanced agricultural productivity and production levels. He acknowledged that progress towards the CAADP target of allocating at least 10% of national budget to agriculture in many countries.
There has been good progress, even though there has been challenges. So over the last 2 decades, CAADP has helped member states to make sure that they have a stronger agricultural planning systems. and also investment program formulations. But also, it has found itself in some other countries where the productivity as well as the production levels have increased. Because when you look at CADIP, it is focused in a number of areas, particularly regarding production and productivity.
Vilakati also referenced Africa's heavy reliance on food imports valued at around $70 billion annually, and the ongoing continental efforts, including the Kampala process under Uganda's leadership, to ensure that 45% of Africa's agri-food needs are met from within the continent. He called on all countries to integrate CAADPs fully into their national agricultural plan to accelerate the path to food security. The Commissioner also emphasized AU initiatives aimed at improving soil health and increasing access to fertilizers, which are both essential for enhancing productivity. He praised companies such as Dangote for establishing fertilizer production facility in various African countries and encouraged private sector engagement in this area. When it came to addressing climate change, he said that Africa is bearing the brunt of it and that the continent is not receiving the necessary climate finance to mitigate its effects. Vilakati lamented that climate financing is often neither fair nor timely. He therefore advocated more grant-based and concessional financing to support African nations' stronger position in global climate negotiations to secure adequate resources and greater focus on domestic climate finance solutions. He also recommended that African countries focus on finding solutions with their own countries and urged them to intensify their focus on food security, the blue economy, and seed banks as sustainable way forward. He particularly urged greater investment in the blue economy, noting that it has vast potential as a source of food, an economic driver, and a booster for tourism.
The critical things are: one, food security. We need to move towards food secured Africa. Definitely food sovereignty is not likely to appear now. But food security, in particular, because when you look at the CADIP program, it says 45% of the agri-foods must now come from Africa. So that's the first one. The second one is the utilization, full utilization of the blue economy, because it's there, it's abundant. The third one is to make sure that we can conserve our seeds. We need to have seed banks.
Through these priorities, Commissioner Vilakati reiterated the AU's commitment to driving transformative action, transformative change that aligns agricultural, water security, environmental sustainability, and economic growth with the vision of Agenda 2063. West African leaders have acknowledged that the region has become the global epicenter of terrorism, recording at least 8 attacks daily and accounting for over half of the terrorism-related deaths worldwide. Reading the final communiqué in Accra on January 30, 2026, Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa said leaders agreed that fragmented responses are no longer viable. The conference resolved to establish a permanent regional cooperation framework to strengthen intelligence sharing, harmonize legal systems for cross-border prosecutions, and expand the eradication of efforts while protecting human rights. Leaders also backed stronger action against organized crime and agreed to explore hot pursuit border arrangements to counter extremist networks. Beyond security, the communiqué emphasized human security, climate resilience, and food security, with commitments to improve governance, service delivery, and disaster response. Ablakwa will lead the drafting of a regional memorandum of understanding within 3 months ahead of final adoption in 6 months. Recognizing climate change as a threat multiplier, the conference agreed to integrate climate and food security into regional peace planning and to develop a collective disaster preparedness and humanitarian response framework for displaced populations. As part of Next Step, the leaders endorsed the consultative conference as a biennial platform and agreed to establish a monitoring mechanism to track implementation of agreed outcomes. Headlining the business news, Nigeria's telecommunication industry attracted over $1 billion in investment in 2025, driving major improvement in network coverage, capacity, and service quality, according to the Nigerian Communication Commission. NCC Executive Vice Chairman Dr. Aminu Maida said the investment led to the deployment of more than 2,850 new network sites nationwide, strengthening the country's 4G backbone and improving media and download speeds in both urban and rural areas. The gains were highlighted in the NCC's Q4 2025 network performance reports developed with global analysts from Ookla. Maida noted that while progress has been made to record, gaps remain in 5G availability, upload speed, and mobile coverage. He added that operators have pledged to increase investment in 2026 as the NCC intensifies data-driven regulation to improve quality of service and expand connectivity across Nigeria. Moving on to sports news, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, President Dr. Patrice Motsepe has pledged to uphold the integrity, reputation, and global competitiveness of African football following controversial incidents at the AFCON Morocco 2025 finals. Dr. Patrice Motsepe said he was extremely disappointed by the events that marred the championship match and vowed that CAF would act decisively to prevent similar situations in the future. He confirmed that he has an extraordinary meeting of the CAF Executive Committee to review CAF regulations, including the disciplinary code. The aim is to ensure that CAF judicial bodies have the authority to impose strong and effective sanctions for serious violations of rules of conduct that harm African football. Dr. Patrice Motsepe also said both the CAF Executive Committee and the 54-member association presidents shared his determination to protect the reputation of African football in CAF competition. He added that all decisions made by CAF judicial bodies would be respected and adhered to. Anthony Joshua has spoken publicly for the first time following a tragic car crash in Nigeria that claimed the lives of two close members of his inner circle, Lateef Ayodele and Sina Gami. The accident occurred on December 29 near Lagos when an SUV carrying the heavyweight boxer collided with a stationary truck. In an emotional video titled "My Brother's Keeper for Life," shared on his social media platform, the 36-year-old boxer described the past months as tragic, struggling to hold back tears. Joshua explained that while he suffered only minor injuries and later returned to the UK to recover, Ayodele and Gami, his housemates, business partners, and confidants, died at the scene. Joshua described the two men as my left and my right, rejecting any focus on his own career or legacy. Instead, he pledged lifelong support to their families, promising that they would not be left alone and that he would help them achieve their goals in honor of the men he called his brothers. He also expressed gratitude to the first responders, medical staff at Lagoon Hospital in Ikoyi, and several Nigerian and international figures who assisted him after the crash. Joshua acknowledged that the support of Nigerian authorities, the British Deputy High Commissioner in Lagos, and prominent individuals who reached out during the ordeal. Let's take a look at the current weather forecast across Africa. That's all for this hour, and we invite you to watch today's program, The Notables. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the notables, celebrating Africa's icons.
He was born neither colonizer nor fully colonized. Frantz Fanon entered the world in 1925 in Martinique, a French colony, where the violence was not of guns, but of gradation. A hierarchy of skin, of accent, of proximity to whiteness. Here, he learned the first lesson. Colonization could live in the mirror.
At 18, he volunteered to fight for free France. I was putting myself in the position of the French man, he wrote, and discovering his interior fragility. In the snow of Alsace, the black soldier from the colony saw the myth of European invincibility crack. It was his second lesson. The master was human and afraid. In Lyon's medical schools, Fanon studied psychiatry, but his real education was on the streets, the stairs. The "Look, a Negro thrown like a stone." His first book, Black Skin, White Masks, was born here. Not as a political manifesto, no, but as psychological autopsy. He dissected the colonial mind and found his own reflection fractured in the process. When Fanon arrived in Algeria as a hospital psychiatrist, he believed he could heal within the system. His clinic treated both Algerian patients and French torturers. In their shared trauma, he saw the same source: colonialism as a psychosis infecting both oppressor and oppressed. The Algerian War began in 1954. The hospital became an annex of the conflict. Fanon realized he could not cure patients only to return them to the system that made them sick. In 1956, he resigned with an explosive letter. The Arab, permanently an alien in his own country, cannot feel at home. He had crossed from observer to participant. In exile, Fanon became the revolution's intellectual voice. His pen was his weapon. He wrote for the FLN newspaper, El Mujahid, but his real work was happening at night. The manuscripts that would become The Wretched of the Earth. Published in 1961, as Fanon was dying of leukemia, The Wretched of the Earth became an instant incendiary text. It was not a call to arms, but a diagnosis. Colonialism is inherently violent, therefore decolonization must be a smear. But Fanon's violence was psychological as much as physical. The violent rupture needed to break the colonized mind free of inferiority. Fanon became the prophet of the Third World, but he was warning, not cheering. He feared the post-colonial elites would simply replace the colonizer, keeping the same extractive systems. The national bourgeoisie, he wrote, will be quite content with the role of the Western bourgeoisie's business agents, a prediction that would haunt Africa for decades. He died at 36. His body returned to be buried on Algerian soil, a final symbolic alignment with the revolution. But his true burial was in the minds of a generation. He left behind not solutions, but tools. The tools to dissect power, to understand trauma, to imagine liberation beyond the flag. Nearly 60 years after his death, Fanon's ghost presided over a remarkable moment. Algeria's declaration that colonialism was a crime against humanity. The language was legal, but the spirit was Fanonian. It was an act of naming the system, exactly what Fanon had done for the individual psyche. In today's Algeria, Fanon is not a relic. He is a reference. For the Hirak protest generation, he provides a vocabulary for their frustration with post-colonial stagnation. His warning about the pitfalls of national consciousness reads like prophecy of their parents' disillusionment. Even in France, Fanon's return is undeniable. No longer the enemy of the state, but a necessary mirror. His work challenges France to understand that reckoning with colonialism is not about guilt, but about truth. And that truth is necessary for both sides to be free of the past. Fanon's true legacy is his unfinished quality. He didn't give answers. He gave lenses. Lenses through which to view racism, trauma, violence, and identity. Today, his work travels to struggles he never imagined. His relevance endures because the central question of his life remains unresolved. How do we become human after dehumanization? How do societies heal after systematic violence? Algeria's memory law is one attempt, using the state's authority to name historical trauma, just as Fanon used psychiatry to name individual trauma. Frantz Fanon lived only 36 years, but he compressed a century of insight into them. He was a psychiatrist who became a revolutionary, a French citizen who became an Algerian patriot, a Caribbean man who became an African prophet. His life was a series of border crossings, geographical, racial, psychological. And perhaps that is why he still speaks to our borderless world of inherited wounds and sought-after healing.
He taught us that colonization is not just about land and resources, but about minds and dreams. And decolonization, therefore, must be about reclaiming both territory and imagination. The work he began in a built-up hospital continues, in courtrooms and classrooms, in protests and therapy sessions, and the quiet determination to remember, to name, and finally to be free. From the mind of Frantz Fanon to the conscience of a continent. His diagnosis endures. His questions remain. Until we meet again, this has been The Notables Show, brought to you by Pulse of Africa. Goodbye.
They shaped history. They inspired generations. They are the Notables. Join us as we honor Africa's greatest minds and trailblazers, the Notables, celebrating Africa's icons.